It's really what our focus is. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Eli, having a bye week, 4 weeks into the season, what were kind of the advantages of having it, a little early, especially against before a big matchup like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the advantages were you kind of got to see where you're at after 4 games and figure out what are the continued glaring weaknesses that you got to shore up, and then what are the strengths or maybe the things that have surprised you that you should push your teams towards. And then the opportunity to get healthy. I think so far, other than Marquise, everybody else is going to be ready to roll.
You mentioned after the last game that you wanted to take a long look at some things over the bye. What really took a lot of your attention and what really stood out as you were kind of doing that evaluation?
Yeah, I mean, there was multiple things in really all 3 phases, but it really kind of was summed up in, third down offensively in the red area has not been good in the 2 Power 4 games. I think we were 3 for 10. And, there's a lot of different things that can get fixed, but if you just fix those issues, I think everything else kind of falls into place. So being better in third downs in the red zone. Defensively, we had missed 22 tackles against Vanderbilt, and we had in the 2 Power 4 games, we had 4 busted coverages that directly resulted in 28 points. So, clearly communicate, make sure we're all on the same page, and then better tracking angles and tackling, which was a point of emphasis last week in our drill work, and then consistency at the specialist position. We've had 2 out-of-bounds kicks in 4 games, which just can't happen, and we've had, multiple games with multiple missed field goals, which it's got to get cleaned up. So, again, every position coach had things for their position, and every player had things that they needed to improve, but from a 10,000 feet view, that was what my focus was.
Coach, with the third downs in the red zone, if I remember correctly, that was something that Kirby had spent a lot of time on this off-season looking at. What does that process maybe look like when it's compressed into a bye week, and what needs to change at this point after getting 4 games of that?
Oh, I don't think there's a whole lot that has to necessarily change. I think there's just got to be better execution, and there's got to be better schematic fits. A couple of plays designed weren't conducive to being successful, and a couple of plays, aren't executed the way we thought they should be. So it's everybody doing their job just a little bit better is really what it comes down to.
Eli, by your opening statement, I assume that you fully expect Marcel Reed to be their starting quarterback, and does anything change if you see the other guy?
I mean, at this point, I know on their depth chart it says the other kid's the starting quarterback, but I mean that's just semantics in my opinion. The guy's 3-0 as the starter, and whether he's listed as questionable or whatever, I don't see them going back. So they're 3-0. They clearly have a different offensive identity with this guy as the quarterback, and they've developed an offense that fits around his system. It's a little, I wouldn't say a little bit different. It's a lot different than the first game of the year. So, I mean, if they go with the other one, they go with the other one. But they've kind of already built the offense towards this, towards Marcel. And, I think he went out with the press conference yesterday. So whether or not there's semantics around it, I fully anticipate Marcel being 3-0 as a starter is going to be the starting quarterback.
Marcel Reed is a little bit more mobile. What similarities do you see from the past few quarterbacks? And what differences?
It's a common theme right now for the opponents that we play. I think he's got a speed dynamic that is similar to Thomas Castellanos. I don't know if the short, until you see him live, I don't know if the short area quickness or burst is the same. And I don't know if he's got the physicality necessarily that Diego had, but he's kind of somewhere in between both of them. He does a really good job keeping his eyes downfield, throwing the ball. Obviously, he had the wheel route for Florida for a big one that kind of exploded the game in Florida's or in A&M's favor. So he can definitely create on the move, and he does a really good job of buying himself time. I think, maybe one stat I saw was he threw for 2 touchdowns and had 80 yards rushing in back-to-back games. I don't think he quite got there last week, but that was the first time since Johnny Manziel that had been done. So obviously he's in rare air with what he's able to do from an athleticism standpoint. For us, it's just one of those challenges that I think he's a really good thrower, so it's not like you can sit there and try to do the same rushing attack that we had against Boston College to keep him in the pocket, because he'll pick you apart. but I don't know that we can afford to let him out of the pocket the way we end up letting with Diego a couple of times. So we've got some challenges on that side of the ball to try to figure that out.
Coach Le'Veon Moss was the first running back to go over 100 yards versus Arkansas. He got 90 of those yards in the fourth quarter. So what makes him a dynamic runner? Kind of, you guys got to do to stop him.
Yeah, physical back, downhill guy. They do a really good job in their fold schemes, trying to create edges, and they're consistent with trying to run the football. We've gone against Coach Klein in the past 2 years. He understands that running the football is not just about creating explosive in the first quarter. It's about adding up those carries so that in the fourth quarter they can really take their toll on a defense. And I think that's what you saw in the Arkansas game. Downhill back, shoulders, runs violent.
You left the first road game of the season to be at a place like Kyle Phil.
Yep.
What are the challenges of playing at a place like College Station, especially with helmet communications as well?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting situation just because we've got 46 new players on the team, so it's going to be a lot of newness for everybody traveling. We've all traveled before, but it's the first time traveling together, and so that, for a head coach who worries about everything, that's a little bit of a point of concern for me right now. It's going to be hot. It's supposed to be 92 degrees on Saturday, which would be the hottest game we've played in all year, which is, again, October. Holy cow. But and then you're going to have to combine that with 105,000 people who are joined forces and trying to create distractions for your team. So you're going to have to be able to block out the noise, play on the 100 and the 100-yard field and the 53-yard wide. I mean, and focus on the things that you can control in between the white lines. Communication is going to be at a premium. You watch back the Alabama A&M game last year. I mean, it's first and second down, and their center and quarterback are having trouble on exchanges. So, it's something that we've been preparing. We've worked a noise segment of our practice every single day since the start of fall camp. But now it's going to be noise for a full, 3 hours and 5 minutes. So it's going to require a lot of concentration and a lot of focus.
With Marquise Johnson, I'm wondering how he's doing on the challenge of emotional consistency. He's obviously had to stay patient with catches and now being gained up a little bit. I know it's only been 5 weeks since you talked about that being a focal point for his improvement. So where have you seen him grow from in that area?
Well, I mean, I think in the last game he made a huge play coverage down the field, and he's embraced his role as one of the best gunners that I've ever had on a special teams unit. And so he's found ways to be productive on our football team outside of just catching the ball. But now this is a new challenge, obviously with a banged up ankle and trying to get back healthy as quick as you can, knowing that you're not going to be, for a guy who relies on his speed, that's probably the biggest challenge, is when you're not quite where you want to be with your speed. So, it's something that we're all, rooting for and working, and he's going to have to work his way through it. Fortunately, he's got guys in that room who've battled through that. Luther, his first year, battled a high ankle for the first part of the season, and so there's some people in that room that can help him with the mentality part of it.
As you mentioned in your opening statement, your thoughts being with Boone, with Carolina. Is there anyone specifically that you've been checking in with? Is everything going okay back there?
Well, I'm honestly, I checked in with several of them, tried to check in with several people over the course of Saturday and Sunday, but limited cell service, didn't get responses. Have gotten a couple of responses today. People in our old neighborhood, friends in our old neighborhood who have, suffered flooding, and then obviously the pictures of downtown Boone were, mind-numbing to me. The picture of the Walmart flooded. There's a picture of the Boone golf course that's 8 feet of water on it, and just knowing the communities there and where people were living, just knowing that houses are destroyed, and I think that's probably a really hard thing, because I know it would be, a hurricane's coming in from the Gulf, and you can kind of prepare for it. But to be in the mountains of western North Carolina and wake up one day and everything you have is floating down a flooding area is unimaginable. And I know they're in desperate need of supplies. You know, you've seen Good Samaritans that I saw yesterday where Joe Gibbs Racing had donated his helicopter and was flying in supplies, and several people were donating helicopter services. I saw where the NC State player and his mom were sending up U-Haul trucks and trailers. But the people of western North Carolina are resilient and tough, but they need our help now more than ever.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you.
See what? Yeah, give me a second. No, it looks good. It's on the 6th. Obviously, stores a lot of the front page, so I'll fix it.
Brady, what were kind of your focuses during the bye week and areas you were?
First I think just personally, mechanically, there's a couple things I was working on. Whether it's my ball carriage in the pocket, just my rhythm footwork on certain plays, dialing that in. And then, as an offense as a whole, just really, we threw the ball a lot. We got a lot of good reps. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week, we got good on good versus the defense. And we threw a lot of balls. It was good for our chemistry, good for just getting some of those full speed reps back in, and it was a lot of good work.
Brady, with Texas A&M, they're in the top 10 on defense for third down percentage. Seem to send a lot of pressure on that down. What specifically are they doing there to have success?
Yeah, their third down packages are pretty good. He likes to sub his guys in on different packages on third downs. Really all the way across the board, third and short to third and XL, and they've got some great calls, but we've been repping them, we've been practicing them, watching them, and we should be good to go.
Brady, they got a few NFL type guys on underneath the line. Nick Squirt, Shamar Turner. What pops off the tape to you when you see those guys?
Just high motor. Nick Scorton is a heck of a player. Just the way he, one thing I've noticed, just the way he reads meshes, quarterback and running back, happened versus Arkansas a few times. Whether he's mesh charging, taking the running back, taking the quarterback, it can be confusing. High motor. The way he pass rushes, the way he defends the run, the way he defends zone read. He's a heck of a player.
Brady, we were just talking to you a lot about the challenges, your first road trip being at a stadium like Kyle Field. What jumps out to you about maybe the challenges playing at College Station, especially when you talk about communication? communications as well?
Yeah, I think that's always a challenge on, road SEC games. I think at some point it can only get so loud, after playing at certain stadiums, you can't hear. It's kind of just a part of the experience, part of the challenge. Of helmet communications, if it's too loud to hear, we always have our signals and different ways to get plays in and communicated. So as long as we start fast and we're explosive early, hopefully that'll quiet them down a little bit.
Brady, Coach Green was just talking to us about red zone offense and third downs there, and that being the point of emphasis of the bye. From your perspective, what did that process look like of working on that, and what do you think needs to improve?
Yeah, 100%. We just need to score more touchdowns in the red zone. If you looked at the numbers, I forget what it was, maybe 3 of 10 in like the last 2 or 3 games in the red zone scoring touchdowns. It's hard to win games like that. Luckily, we did. So that was a huge emphasis. I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to practicing it. We practiced it last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday a ton. Red zone plays, red zone versus defense, a red zone lockout period where it's basically offense versus defense for 3 or 4 rounds just in the red zone. So we've repped it a ton. I think we're feeling a lot more confident.
You mentioned, trying to throw some noise at you in practice. It's obviously not the same as Kyle Field, but what, in your experience, what things in practice have helped, and how does that help you deal with it once you get into the game?
In my opinion, the noise at practice is actually louder. They put these big speakers, pretty much 2 feet right behind me, and you can't hear anything. It's loud. In stadiums, it's loud, but it's like a surrounding, kind of more distant loud. So it's a little different. I think it's, just as loud or louder or tougher to communicate. That's great work. We've been doing that every single rep this week. So hopefully the offense and me and Tollison and the rest of the guys are feeling good going into the first series.
Brady, what's your approach when you've got 2 weeks between a game? Are you in the facility every day watching games on the weekend, or do you take a couple days to get away from football?
So I took Friday and Saturday. Those were kind of our off days. Everybody kind of gets out and watch ball like a normal person, and watch college football game day and all that stuff. It was fun. But at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, I had the call sheet out, had the ready list out, and there's always things to be doing on a Friday and Saturday where you can't really turn your mind off of it. That's the reality. You got Texas A&M coming up. Your mind never really turns off.
I know you guys probably have gotten your own reminders of this, but when you see some of the things that happened last weekend, is it good? Hey, college football, weird things happen, and you got to be ready in a given day. Yeah,
100%. I think college football is crazy. There's things that can go down each and every game that you won't expect, and you got to be ready for it. I think at the end of the day, as long as you can, stay calm, battle adversity when it shows up, and trust what you've practiced all week. Whatever happens. There's going to be things that come up, situations that come up, crazy plays that come up. But at the end of the day, you practiced all week. Just execute it.
Brady, from the last couple of years of experience, whether it was somewhere like Kentucky or Georgia, I know there's a few more people at Kyle Field than at Kroger Field, for example. But what have you learned about being able to handle a water trump crowd, especially when you get down early like you did against Kentucky last year?
I think, do your best to act like they're not there, really. At least as a quarterback, when I'm out on the field, there's already a lot going on that I'm focused on. Most of the time I'll come off the field after a series and I'll forget the crowd was even there. Obviously the noise is there, and that's a challenge for communication and different things like that. But as long as we can stay dialed in when we're out there and we're not letting it distract us, and we're focused on what we need to be focused on, the noise is the noise, but you score points, they'll quiet down.
It sounds like you had a busy bye week, but did you take a chance during this week off to kind of hone in on your focus, flush the last 4 games, and ignore the outside noise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big emphasis. Vandy game, and then we had the Sunday and Monday to really watch that tape, recover our bodies, flush it. And, by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week, we were pushing forward. We had great energy. We were practicing. I was focused. I knew what I needed to improve on and work on that week. And then we got back Sunday, and, we hit the ground running on Texas A&M. So the energy's great. My energy's great. And we feel really confident moving into this week.
Anything else? Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, guys.
Theo Weeks Jr.
Theo, Brady mentioned a lot of reps this week, and how do you feel like kind of getting back to that? Not necessarily game planning, but just a lot of reps between quarterback and receivers has helped you out.
Yeah, it's all good. It's always good. You know, it just makes us feel more comfortable to go out and execute on Saturday.
You know, what was the focus of the bye week for you? You know, individually, what did you focus on?
You know, just really sticking to the same things that we've been doing and recovering. You know, just get your body back as good as you can.
Theo, you're somebody who's had success in the red zone. As far as red zone offense goes this year, what do you think needs to improve in that area?
I think we could just execute a little bit better. You know, all of us, we definitely got some little things we can fix. But, yeah, definitely just comes down to execution. You know, sometimes I've missed a couple blocks that prevented Nate or Marcus from scoring. So it's all across the board.
Theo, since you met Marquise last year, how have you helped him in this transition to college? How have you helped support him? And then where have you seen him grow since he got here?
Yeah, I stay in Marquise's ear just because I see how great he can be in the future and now, honestly. He's grown a lot. He's matured a lot, honestly. And just what I tell him all the time is just play fast. Like, you know, you're extremely fast. Just play fast. It's going to be hard to keep up with it.
Yeah, what have you seen from Texas A&M's secondary? What do you think they do?
I mean, as a defense in a whole, I think they're very disciplined, you know, high motor. They got a lot of energy. They got a lot of guys that play with a lot of passion. And I think the coach's name is Elko. He does a great job with his schemes and stuff. So it'll be a good test for us.
When you have a week where you're not, you know, game planning, or you're not in your normal weekly schedule, and you kind of get to see the chaos of college football from afar, is that hard to ignore outside noise? Is it kind of nice to sort of dip into that world for a week?
Yeah, I mean, you know, during the bye week we get to be normal, so it was fun seeing how, like, just watching college football and just seeing the excitement from it.
Theo, after these first 4 games and taking 5 weeks to reflect, where specifically in your game do you want to grow the most over these last 2/3 of the season?
My physicality and my blocking. I think that's what I want to improve in the most.
Theo, what makes Dre Norwood a good quarterback?
His IQ is extremely high. He has a lot of experience. And I feel like he played receiver before. Like, he kind of knows what routes to expect when they're coming, you know, at certain depths. And then he's just extremely consistent. You can't ask for nothing else.
Theo, playing in a wide receiver room as talented as Mizzou's this year, how has that helped you continue to grow your game? And
Oh, I can't have no days off. I got to come to work every day to, you know, keep my starting spot. There's a lot of young guys behind me that are hungry, and you can tell. So, yeah, that just builds the bond even tighter at practice, just because we're all pushing each other to be better.
Theo, you're dating back to high school ball. What are some lessons you've learned about being able to handle a large crowd as y'all are going to be walking into one this weekend in College Station?
As long as we execute, the crowd won't be loud.
Anything else for Theo? Thanks, Theo.
Appreciate y'all.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Johnny Walker Jr.
When you look at Texas A&M's offensive line, and they're playing pretty well, and then I think they're top 15 in the country and limiting tackles for loss. So what do you guys got to do to get in the backfield?
I think it starts in practice with just hitting the sled and I want to say just focusing on our main blitzes to getting back there in the backfield.
What do you think quarterback Le'Veon Moss does really well?
I think he's a smart runner. He's very agile and elusive, and when he needs to, he can convert to power, if that makes sense.
What similarities do you see from Marcel Reeds to maybe the last couple of quarterbacks he's gone against?
We faced a lot of them this year. Again, I think he's a very agile runner. Watch tape on him a lot. He doesn't run as often as the last guys did, but we're wanted to limit him running.
Johnny, I think of when we think of ways we can just affect the offense, but how can it affect the defense and you guys in your play calls?
So with the headset, we've been using that, and loud crowd. I think of like a small huddle. I think that'll help us limit the crowd, if that makes sense.
Coach Shrinkwood said, correct me if I'm wrong here, but on a few third downs even here at home, because of the crowd noise, you guys have limited sideline communications? Instead of film communications on certain third downs?
The front seven, we're mostly relying on the headset. I think the back end is more reliant on signals.
Johnny, what's it been like playing alongside Chris McCollum so far this year? What have you liked from his game?
Chris is a baller. All our D tackles are. But Chris, I think he has 2 sacks, forced fumble, pass deflection. I mean, the guy gets vertical and causes disruption. So he's a great player. Love playing with him.
Johnny, Coach Drake has talked a couple of times about not over-rushing the quarterback. He talked about it last year with Jay Daniel. He talked about it this season with both Thomas Castellanos and Diego Pavia. What goes into keeping a guy like that, especially with Marcel Reed, keeping a guy like that in the pocket?
The danger's going to get out of the pocket, so we want to try to compress the pocket, push the paint, and make sure he doesn't have any escape lanes, specifically through the B gaps or C gaps.
What do you think are the 2 or 3 keys to victory for us?
Defensive side, I think stopping the run with quarterback and Moss, and limiting explosive plays rather than the pass game, just doing our job on defensive side of the ball.
When you guys on the defensive line look at your role in trying to limit some of those busted coverages and the explosive plays that come from them, what do you guys look at and say, this is what we need to do?
Obviously get back there faster. Coverage and pass rush work hand in hand, so I feel like if we do our job better, we can limit some of the busts if they happen.
Anything else for Johnny?
Appreciate y'all.
All right, credentials. Who's going to A&M?